Now let's talk about finite verbs and what they are. We will cover introduction to finite verbs, but also understand their roles in sentences. So what are finite verbs? Finite verbs are verbs that have a subject and show a specific tense, past, present, or future. Now, why are finite verbs important? They are used to complete sentences, also have a main clause. Every main clause needs a finite verb to make sense on its own. How to identify finite verbs? 3 steps will help you identify finite verbs. Firstly, you have to check the sentence and identify the subject. Does the verb have a subject? Then you have to identify if the verb is telling you the tense. Is it showing that the action happened in the past, in the present, or the future? And you have to focus on the meaning. Can it stand alone with the subject and still make sense? For example, I went swimming. So went will be the finite verb since it shows you the subject, which is I, and went also shows you the tense. When did you go swimming? In the past. You went swimming. But can it also make sense on its own? I went. Yes, it will also make sense on its own. Now, examples of finite verbs. Finite verbs show different sentences. She runs fast shows present tense. She runs, it will show present. They walk to school shows past tense. Walked in the past, they had walked to school. I will call tomorrow. Okay, this is future. They will call tomorrow. So over here, she will be the subject. Runs will be the finite verb, right? Because it's showing the present tense and it also has a subject. Over here, they walked. Walked will be the finite verb. It's showing the tense, past tense, and it also has a subject that it's, focusing on, the one who is walking. I will call tomorrow. Will call will be the finite verb because it's showing when will you call tomorrow, and you can also see the subject. Now, do these sentences make sense on their own? She runs. Yes, it makes sense. They walked. It makes sense. I will call. It also makes sense. So these have to make sense on their own. Each verb here, runs, walked, will call, has a subject and shows tense. So they are finite verbs. Now, more examples of finite verbs in sentences. Each sentence has a subject and a finite verb. Let's look at present tense first. He eats breakfast every morning. Eats shows present tense. He is having breakfast currently. He eats breakfast. He is still eating breakfast every morning. This is a current thing that is happening. This is not something that had happened in the past or will happen in the future. It is currently happening. Every morning when he wakes up, he is having breakfast. Okay, so this will be present tense. Past tense, we saw a movie last night. Saw will be the finite verb, and this happened in the past, so it will highlight past tense. Future tense, you will enjoy the party. Will enjoy, this will happen in the future, so this shows future tense. So this will be the finite verb, will enjoy. Each sentence has a subject, he, we, and you, and also it has a finite verb that shows the time when that action took place. And who did the action? He, we, and you, the subjects, they did the following actions. Now, non-finite verbs versus finite verbs. Non-finite verbs don't show tense. They don't show that it is happening either in the past, future, or the present. So non-finite verbs don't show tense. To go, to eat, you don't know when you are going. You don't know when you are eating. Going, eating, gone, eaten. So all of these are not showing the tense. They also don't have a subject. Finite verbs show tense. I go to school. This is the present tense. He ate lunch. This is the past tense. Who went to school? I did. I is the subject over here. And he is the subject in the second sentence. He ate. So over here, go will be the finite verb. And over here, ate will be the finite verb. They are letting you know when this took place. Now practice examples identifying finite verbs. Identify the finite verb in each sentence. In sentence 1, I read a book every night. I is the subject. Read is the verb, the action that is taking place. Can you tell when it is taking place? I read. So this means it is present. I read every night. This is something that is currently happening. So this is the finite verb. They are playing in the garden. They are the subject. Are is happening currently. Okay. Are playing will be the finite verb. Sentence 3. We visited the museum last week. So this is something that happened in the future. They visited the museum. And can you also see that they make sense on their own? I read. they are playing, we visited the museum. Okay, so they also need to make sense on their own. So these are some common mistakes. To swim in the ocean is not correct. Okay, because over here you're not finding the subject, you don't know who the subject is, who swam in the ocean, and you also don't know the time. When did this take place? Past, present, or future? Did you swim in the past? Are you currently swimming? Or will you swim in the future? The correct finite verb is I swim, because you can see the subject, which is I, and swim, something that is currently happening. Okay, so these are finite verbs. So over here, let's do a quick summary. Finite verbs are important. They have a subject. They show tense. All right. They make the sentence complete. I will eat. Will eat will be the finite verb. They like going to the park. Like will be the finite verb. He has played soccer. Has played will be the finite verb. Complete sentence. Every main clause needs one. Important. Check for the subject and the tense. These are the two main clues. And the key point is every main clause needs a finite verb. And that brings us to the end of our lecture.